prioritizing those. We can't address necessarily every single potential risk, but we can really focus on key risks that we can put efforts and potential capital towards to make sure that they're addressed in the event that they happen. And then once those key risks are identified, begin to develop mitigation, communication, recovery strategies so that you have those in place in the event that the unlikely and unfortunate event happens. And then the last piece is to test those plans and make sure your employees and everyone within your organization knows how to implement those plans in the event that they're needed. So that just kind of gives you an overall structure of the business continuity plan. Going into the just an awareness of some of the guidance that's out there around business continuity planning. One of the reasons this has come to the forefront is our governor in the state of Michigan has issued an executive order that defines the need to develop a COVID preparedness and response plan. It's the first bullet for all businesses to develop this plan, and essentially that plan is a business continuity plan. So if you have a business continuity plan, maybe you need to update it around pandemic type issues, or this could be the beginning of a plan in developing it for the pandemic, and then it can be taken to other risks and expanded within your organization. Now within the governor's executive order, she highlights a guidance document that was put out by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. OSHA has developed a guide to help workplaces create their plans specifically for the pandemic. Again, this can be a useful tool if you're looking to come back to work and making sure that you have all of the necessary risks identified and communicated to your employees, and all necessary prevention measures put into place. It will help guide you and define some of those issues or tips or thoughts that maybe you hadn't thought through or didn't realize could be useful going forward. So this is a guide that's out there. Again, it focuses on controls and personal protective equipment, engineering and administrative controls to put in place. Another resource that's available, and this is the one that came out of the 9/11 Commission, kind of bringing it back full circle. Following that commission's report, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, came out with some business guides to help companies plan for unexpected business related disruptions. The guide is called a Ready Business Mentoring Guide. It's a great tool. There's a website, and I recommend going to that. The tools for that particular, that are available on that website, help organizations identify issues around staff, their surroundings, physical space, building construction systems and services. They have toolkits and sample documents for everything from flooding to power outages to severe wind. So identifying and planning for those types of issues. They also have communication examples for within an organization, and also to help companies manage social media messages that may need to be relayed. And they have also put all of this information in Spanish as well to assist those organizations that have a Spanish-speaking emphasis. So with that, that's kind of a background on business continuity planning. I'd like to introduce Drinan, who will now talk about their plan. They implemented a business continuity plan around the COVID-19 pandemic to be able to help their employees come back to work in a timely manner. So with that, I want to say thank you and welcome to Drinan.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm going to share my screen here.
Yeah.
I think you need to, once you stop. Everyone see that okay?
You're all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So thank you, Wendy, and thank you, West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum. I'm Drinan Gorney, and I'm an attorney and the risk compliance manager at Byrne Electrical Specialists, Inc. We're headquartered in Rockford, Michigan. For those of you that don't haven't heard of Byrne or don't know what we do, we manufacture power distribution raceways and power accessories, mainly for the office furniture environment. But you'll also find us in classrooms, hospitals, even our local urgent care centers. If you're in the waiting room, you'll see our products there. Really anywhere you want to power up. So we offer like the plugs that you plug your computer in when you're sitting at your desk, or like I said, at the table at the urgent care center waiting room. And what I'm hoping to leave you with today, and this is what the purpose of the slide here, is some insights and best practices in dealing with a pandemic or a crisis in your business by sharing a little bit about our journey. So we have a business continuity plan in place already, but when COVID hit, we really wanted to narrow down the protocols and procedures for dealing with this type of crisis. As you know, it's the first time we've dealt with this and everyone else in this world. One of the things about Byrne, our core values, and we wanted to share a little bit of this with you, is those core values that are closest to our heart are being customer-centered with an entrepreneurial spirit while honoring our agile and innovative approach to rapid execution and scalable growth. Now that's a lot, but as you'll see, these have really helped us in this time of crisis. On March 23rd, 2020, the first Michigan stay-at-home order came out, and we were all thrown for a loop. I remember that morning, I was reviewing the Ohio and Illinois and Indiana orders because those came out first, and thinking, okay, ours are gonna be pretty much the same or similar. And then ours came out and we quickly realized the differences. We were facing a lot more restraints and a lot more challenges than the other states around us, especially in our industry, being a manufacturing industry. Luckily for us, the core values at Byrne are centered on rapid execution and innovation, as I told you. And also, we have a manufacturing location in China. So we consider that the people there are extended family. We helped them out because they were dealing with COVID first. We sent them over packages and shipments of wipes and masks in January and February. So we really had some insight into how to deal with this a little bit first, and that was really helpful for us. So within one day of the executive order, we put together a dedicated COVID response team. And this was comprised of myself for legal and risk, Pat Young, our system coordinator, and Ryan Converse, a system auditor. And we had the support of our executive leadership team as well. We immediately created an agenda and began holding daily morning meetings. One of the main reasons we wanted to do this was to ensure that we were communicating properly. I mean, we had a nightmare of executive orders that were being rolled out every day, and they continue to do so. But we really wanted to make sure we were not only following them, but we were communicating them properly to everyone. And that's what this slide is about. I mean, communication really, we've learned, is a key. I mean, it's always been important, but communication in a time of crisis really is an important factor. So one of our initial actions as a team was we locked down all communications, whether it was to customers, suppliers, really anyone. So any and all communications, both external and internal, had to go through our COVID-19 response team for review, for risk, for liability. We wanted to make sure the message that we were going to be giving was accurate. And this control was super critical. So after review by the team, the communication then radiated out from our central hub. And at Byrne, we use an app, and it's called Beekeeper, but we brand it as Byrne Buzz. And it's an app that everyone has on their phone here or on their laptop. And it's kind of like our inside social media. It's kind of like our internal Facebook or Instagram. And it is a communication streaming app. So there's like 5 different streams, I believe. There's Byrne Buzz, which sends out news of the day. There's burning questions, we call it, so employees can ask questions to the app and it's answered almost immediately. But anyway, this app and this communication really helped us control the message. We were able to emphasize, as you can see, these are some of the posts that were on the app. We could emphasize safety. We could train through it as well. And it really helped us manage our employees' anxieties, because this wasn't just a business issue, this was a people issue. I mean, everyone was dealing with the stresses, not just in the business, but individually as well. During the crisis, we were able to stay open because we are an essential, we have customers that are in the critical infrastructure. So we had what we called essential orders. We had customers that supplied to hospitals, to government agencies, to banks, things like that, that we had to get those orders out for. But we really had to initially make some serious decisions. We had to determine what orders were essential, what customers were essential. We had to backlog those that were not. And we also had to, unfortunately, furlough or lay off a number of employees, and some employees even had to start working remotely. So these were all protocols and procedures that we put in place. Just being prepared and having a business continuity plan and kind of knowing, what was coming with the dealing with Byrne Asia was really essential. And then also the daily meetings that we had. This was really important. We were able to talk through things with each other every morning, and then it helped us get ready for any curveballs. So I want to give you an example of one of those curveballs. Just 2 days after the stay-at-home order came out, we went through our initial layoff, and immediately after that happened, somebody called the Rockford Police and complained that we were open. So we had a visit from the Rockford Police. They walked in and they wanted to know why we were open and what we were doing. And we really were still putting all our basic procedures and protocols in place, but we were ready for them. We explained to them what was going on, the essential order process that was being put in place, and then the idea that the expectation of only having essential workers on site, things like that. And the police officer closed the matter, reporting that we were doing all the right things. But during this visit, he mentioned temperature taking. And this was new to us. I mean, we had heard of it, but it really wasn't at the forefront yet. The executive order was all about shutting down businesses, but the C2C and the MIOSHA guidelines really hadn't come on board yet or come to the forefront yet. So he mentioned at the police department that they were taking temperatures every shift, before every shift. And we thought that was a really smart idea. So we immediately that afternoon started doing that. So we went around and took everyone's temperature, and we continue to do that to this day. Before every shift, we do temperature checks, and now it's required, but at the time it wasn't. This is just really a clear example of our rapid execution. At the same time, we also put together the See Something, Say Something hotline. So we have a phone number now that employees can call in if they have any concerns. They can do it anonymously, or they can leave their name. But when they call in, the protocol that we have in place is that it's addressed within, I think it's 2 hours. So it's an immediate response. So if they see like some social distancing rules that are being broken, or if they even just have concerns, they can call in and leave the message, and we'll respond to it as soon as possible. We started to document and formalize our protocols and procedures around this COVID response. We modeled it on our ISO 9001 system, which we already have in place. We used it to prioritize our customers and suppliers, but first and foremost, the safety of our employees was the most important part of why we put these protocols in place. We also put together, this is a little bit of we called it our playbook. So it had 8 different parts to it: customers, suppliers, community, system, security, employee, our product portfolio, and then finance. And we also put together a handbook. So this handbook is given to all employees. It's also been translated into all the languages, because we have people that speak different languages in our plants. So we've translated it into all those languages. And we've posted it on our Byrne Buzz app, so it can be accessed at any time, anywhere as well. The handbook contained all of our protocols and important information related to the disease, and you can see some examples of the pages there. It's all based on the C2C and MIOSHA guidelines and the executive orders, and as you know, these tend to change, so we've updated it as things have changed and made it available to all of our employees. Also, talking about the constant communication, we introduced a new member of our Byrne family during all of this. We call him Hops the safety dog. He's the big slobbery St. Bernard, you know, the dog that rushes in after emergencies and takes care of people and leads them to safety. So Hops has become our poster safety expert, or I shouldn't say expert because he's really relaying the guidelines of C2C and MIOSHA. But he pops up on our Byrne Buzz often. He also pops up on our computers every morning and then has all these different safety messages, a different one each day. And he's there just kind of as a reminder of our social distancing protocols, you know, the hand washing, anything and everything. He also, I know there's one out there that has our phone line out there for people to call into. So he's been part of our communication through all this. One of the things that we're doing now, I mean, eventually we're going to enter into post-COVID times, but one of the things we're doing now is we I believe it's in the next couple of weeks, we're setting up a meeting, a day long or a half day long meeting to really document all the lessons we've learned. We want to create a lessons learned document and also kind of add to our playbook. We want to expand this to other crises, and that if anything else should come up in the future, we can go to our playbook collection, we can pull what is needed, and we will be prepared. So I wanted to, this was my last slide, but I wanted to leave you with just two of the biggest insights that I had through all of this, through our journey in this. And number one, I've already mentioned it, is communication is key. Communication with internally and externally. And also two, this playbook, this handbook, this preparedness is all something you can do yourself. It was a benefit having an in-house attorney here, but really it is something you can do yourself. You don't have to go out and spend lots of money. It's something you can put together. It's something maybe you want to have your attorney look at to bless at the end, but really it's something you can do yourself. You can be prepared, you can take control of this, and it will help you pivot and accept any challenges that come, because as you know, this has been an eye-opener for everyone. Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me, Dan? Yeah. I'll just take control of the screen if I can.
Yes, we can hear you quite well.
Okay. A little loud, I understand, possibly, right?
We'll call it booming.
Booming. Okay, maybe I'll talk softly. How's that? I'm not sure why, but I'm not able to adjust this quite right yet. But can you see my screen okay?
We can. It's a very striking image.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is David Muil. I'm the Global Vice President of Business Development with Intertek. For those that know Intertek, we do have an office in Kentwood, Michigan, one of our large global automotive oversight offices. But we are over 100 locations around the world with 44,000 employees, delivering a number of different standards. And I'll talk to you today about one that actually resonates with the other speakers. And Drinan, you couldn't have given us a better segue with ISO 9001 and business continuity. So I'll be able to pick up from that and just quickly go over some screens that you may have already seen with Wendy as well. So just quickly, we'll reiterate the need to manage risk because it has been discussed already. And I'll spend a little bit of time on the framework of how to implement a management system, risk management system based on 22301, and a quick applicability and summary. So certainly the need to manage risk, I think everybody's seen it, we've heard it, we've experienced it. There were some good examples with Toyota and Honda. And what that did to the supply chain and the overall disruption. We've seen the word terrorism, but really managing risk helps us achieve our objectives that senior management's clearly all about: identifying and mitigating risk in all aspects of the organization, complying with legal and regulatory, improving overall governance. And what a lot of people are starting to see, especially as the stock market has taken a turn, those that are providing risk management-based programs are increasing and improving stakeholder confidence and trust. People want to invest in organizations that, number one, are sustainable, but number two, can manage risk appropriately. On the next slide, it talks a little bit more about managing some of the risk and some of the value. I won't go through them all, but clearly improving operational effectiveness, improving your business resilience. Business resilience is the ability for the organization to achieve predetermined levels after an incident or a loss. So these are ways to get up and running very quickly within the organization using a management system to do it. Okay. Now, the sources of threats, we saw a little bit of that with Wendy on her diagram. No question, very similar. You can look at a number of different things. Pandemic is on here, terrorism, fraud or hacking, even new regulations are a source of risk if we're not meeting them. And of course, the potential consequences, these can vary greatly, but as we heard with Honda and Toyota, the loss of market share, the value of the brand. Brand damage is massive in some organizations that don't manage risk, and certainly reduce customer confidence. And you can see the sliding scale here from low to medium to high and where it would fit, the probability versus the impact. As each increases, the level of risk becomes the challenge. So the question becomes, how do we manage this as an organization? This is where the business continuity management program, ISO 22301, actually provides this framework for organizations to implement a robust management system. And what you saw very quickly with Drinan and what they've done with their ISO program, they've done clearly the right thing. They've used their management system to enhance it with the requirements for COVID and improving the overall system without creating a different system. So the 22301 allows an organization to implement a system that is capable to continue to deliver a products or service at acceptable predefined levels following a disruptive incident. So what we look for when organizations look to, they're looking for a framework or a structure on where to start, what's involved, what is the scope of a risk management program that we need to put in place. And the world of ISO has created this with the 22301. So organizations out there, certainly some of the members, I'm sure are already signed up, a lot of them with us and our competitors, doing 22301 implementation assessments. So if we take a look at the definition of business continuity management, it is quite quite intensive here because there's a lot of words that pop out here. So for instance, holistic management process that identifies potential threats. Holistic comes from the concept of start to finish, not picking one or two risks within the organization, but a cradle to grave mentality of from start to finish within our business, what are all those risks that we need to understand? The other piece here is the potential threats. A lot of people get confused that they only need to address threats that occur. The value of a business continuity management system is you look at the potential of risks that can happen. Yes, they may be remote and probably never happen and could be a black swan type of event that we typically talk about, but at the end of the day, they are potential threats that need to be examined. If realized, again, may or may not happen. And then this system provides that framework for building organizational resilience and with an effective response that allows you to get back up and running, safeguarding your stakeholders, protecting your reputation and brand. Okay, so that's the intent of what the business continuity management system would do for your organization. It is based on the the industry-leading PDCA, we call it, Plan, Do, Check, Act. And you saw that in some of Drinan's presentation, where they set a plan, they understand where the risks, they understand how to measure those risks, we implement controls to manage them, we check against them using your internal audit if you have an ISO 9000 system or a 22301 standalone. And then the key one here, which a lot of people fail at, is the ACT. And that's driving through from the management and the stakeholders in the organization to affect change, implement change, and make sure that any activities done as a result of the good effort gone in, close the loop, and we make the changes and hardwire back into the organization. Okay. The applicability of this, really applicability is for all organizations. That's the one thing I think COVID has taught everybody, that it doesn't discriminate. It's not for, it doesn't apply just to medical or aerospace or automotive. It actually impacts every single organization out there. And the same can be said of 22301. Every organization has risk. Obviously, any organization seeking to ensure conformity with stated business continuity policies, this is applicable for them. And we want to continue to deliver products and services at predefined levels. And most importantly, seek to enhance resilience. If COVID has taught nothing else for a lot of organizations, it's that we don't know what we don't know. And we have to be ready and able to respond to a lot of events. A risk management system under 22301 will not guarantee that you don't have events. What it does work to do is to achieve a system of flexibility to allow your organization to get up running faster because you have more processes, procedures, and a lot of the activities already in place, even if you've been able to test them to some degree. Okay. So in summary, just to quickly, these are some statistics that have been pulled from our UK head office. Really, disruptions experienced by 8 out of 10 organizations are considered a real threat. Absolutely. Most organizations believe there is a benefit in a business case for a strong business continuity management system. And as we see with a lot of organizations, despite knowing this, organizations are unprepared and not ready to handle threats. 22301 is currently the leading internationally recognized standard through the ISO program for organizations to implement. You know, it supports certainly reputational risk for organizations that are concerned about that. But it does have an overlying thread through it that there's significant senior management involvement to make this an effective tool. It is not something that a quality department or an engineering department or a risk department puts in place. It's something that everybody has to handle. And again, go back full circle, it's a holistic approach relating to or concerned with the entire organization rather than just segments of the organization or parts of it. So that's just a quick brief there for you. Intertek, just as a recap, we do obviously audit the programs. We do offer it out of our local offices out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's lead auditor training to help organizations and many other programs available. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, David, Wendy, Drinan. We do have a bit of time for questions today. I did see one that came one already that did come out in the from Wendy's presentation. For the executive order, are all businesses that have employees all businesses that have employees which come into the workplace required to develop a plan?
So in looking at the executive order, I did not see any exemptions. They used the term all for all businesses. So I believe there is no one that is exempt from the executive order. It's meant to make sure that anybody that is coming out of the stay-at-home order and going back to work is safe and healthy.
Right, that's accurate. It's anyone that has to leave their home to come to work. If we're asking our employees to come to work, whether we're profit, nonprofit, we need to have some sort of plan in place to keep them safe.
Is there any idea about how they might enforce that?
The enforcement is being managed by the Attorney General's office. So really it's somebody calling in and complaining. There's really, they're not going door to door. I can tell you that it's just not the bandwidth. It just isn't there. The resources aren't there. It's really, you know, we've had a couple of complaints into MIOSHA and the Kent County Health Department and like I said, the Rockford State Police, just from employees calling in. I mean, we've always been able to show that we're doing the right thing, and they've always closed the cases on those, but that's just how it's being done.
That's pretty typical, for employees to report issues when it comes to their safety at work.
David referenced earlier black swan events, and that was cool. That would have of the type that have the ability to somewhat redefine how we do business. I'm curious for your opinions on how the experiences everyone's gone through over the past quarter or so and continue to go through are going to redefine business continuity planning moving forward. Because I think especially for certain types, for certain size and types of organizations, they likely hadn't given much thought to this or how they would react if they had to shut down or be interrupted. And virtually everyone has or is now having to think through this and has these lessons. Is this going to change kind of the preparedness for businesses in a fundamental way moving forward?
Hey, Daniel, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, that was my my speaker that gave us that blip. Yeah, actually, I do believe we are coming to this overused term called the new normal, and risk management in organizations is taking on a completely different spin. Much more priority from the senior levels of organizations. We've seen, you know, the impact on the stock market. We've seen the impact on the economy and people and jobs and everything else that's happening. And I think that it's always been in the back of the mind since 9/11 to think of the unthinkable. And now we are seeing that nobody would have ever predicted a global, well, unless maybe you're a movie producer, I guess they have, but that this could actually happen and shut a world economy down. And I think everybody's going to be very sensitive to be doing their part because they know how fragile the world can be, the workplace can be. We know how important our people are to the business. And I think you're going to see, we've already seen it in a lot more of our clients, the demand for understanding how to implement and deploy risk mitigation tools has really gone through the roof. You know, yes, it's COVID today, but what's coming tomorrow and how are we prepared? That's the big issue.
And just to expand on David's comments, we're seeing all of those things from the clients that we're talking to, both in manufacturing to small businesses, you know, in your local neighborhood. A lot of companies and or businesses may have planned for